Alrighty, guys, gals, non-binary pals, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you would love to join these lovely people here on the side of the screen that you see spamming tons of lovely words, you should join us. I stream on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We talk about a multitude of topics, and then you can watch this being recorded live and add to the conversation while it's happening. So it's completely free, doesn't cost you any money. There will be a link in the description. So today we are going to be talking about a video that I was sent, and it's a documentary. So it's coming from this channel right here called The Body Love Society, and the name of the video is Behind the Before and After Intuitive Eating and Body Image Documentary. Now, this video, first off, is very well done, so I think that it does a really good job. We're going to be watching the whole thing. It's a longer video, so you know, get your popcorn ready, get all your things ready. But we're going to watch it all. I'm going to share my thoughts during, but I have quite a bit of things to say towards the end of the video. So just, you know, make sure you stick around to that, because I'm not going to try and go into this video with like a closed off kind of mind. I'm going to try and be very open-minded and, you know, just see what they have to say. I'm not going to be trying to like combat everything that's being said. I'm going to let them say their piece and then share what I think towards the end as well. Okay, so I just want to put that out there in case you're watching this, okay? So let's go ahead and check out this video. I don't know if this is the name of their production company or they're just saying it happened during this thing. But if that's the name of their production company, I don't know about that. So it says, for those that are listening, content warning, before and after pictures, discussions of dieting, disordered eating, and pursuing weight loss.
The reason it's a $60 billion industry, and probably even more than that now, is because it doesn't work. It's because we have to keep going back. It's because when we do the program and it works the first time and we're like, wow, this is the best diet program ever, I just need to keep this up forever. And then we inevitably can't, because we're wired to backfire and to gain the weight back. And we blame it all on ourselves. And we think, oh, I just need to go do that program again because it worked so well. And so there's all of these repeat customers. And not only that, but then they'll jump and try another program, which is why they make so much money. It's because it doesn't work. I
mean, that's facts right there. I have nothing against that at all. That is a very succinct way to explain the diet culture, or the weight loss industry, the multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar industry.
It is one of the biggest eating movements of the decade, the Whole 30.
I cannot stand Dr. Oz. I'm just going to put it out there, all right? Like, snake oil salesman, if his picture isn't next to that term in the dictionary, there is a mistake. Truly.
New this morning, the keto diet versus Weight Watchers.
These cleansing diets aren't a diet at all. They don't even include food, so it's more like a fast.
Intermittent fasting.
The latest celebrity-endorsed health craze is known as the detox.
The number one thing people ask me about is dieting.
Innocent beginnings. Bum, bum, bum.
So the first level of my understanding about body image was always like, oh, well, all these girls I see on TV are so thin and they're white and I'm not.
So this is Kelly. I actually know Kelly. I've met her many times. I think it's funny that next to their name they like put the verified thing. I don't know. That just when I saw that I was like, that's kind of funny. But
and I don't look like them, so I want to look like them.
It really comes down to, like, I thought that if I could change my body, I could change my life, because all the messages that we receive are phrased like that. Like, if you look a certain way, especially if you're thin, or later on fit was the new trend. If you look this certain way, then you're going to have the man of your dreams, and you're going to travel the world, and then you're going to have the job that you like.
This is what I call the silver bullet theory, right? So it's like, if I lose weight, I will, therefore, everything will be better. And I've said many times, weight loss is not a silver bullet. Like, you can lose weight and you can be fat and depressed, and guess what? You can lose weight and still be depressed. It ain't gonna solve all that stuff. It's a powerful thing. Like, don't get me wrong. And again, I don't agree with everything this says. It's a powerful thing, but it ain't the silver bullet. And that's very important that you understand that while you decide to start losing weight.
Like, everything will just kind of fall into place. And that was very much what I was chasing, was that perfection.
I feel like I've always been on some kind of diet.
Dang, that's savage. I didn't notice this. They're like, you're not verified. You don't get the blue check. Why not just give everyone the blue check? All right. Why are you? It's kind of messed up. Okay, I'm sorry.
For trying to lose weight. And I remember every year going into like the new school year, that summer I'd be like, okay, time to lose weight. Like, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to go into the next year and I'm going to look great.
After going to a baby shower and a photo was posted of me on social media, I was devastated by what I saw and devastated by the reality that was my body. And I decided to do something about it. I was going to get healthy. I was going to lose weight.
I've always been
So one thing that I think is important to be aware of, and I'm not, again, everyone in this video, I'm not sitting here trying to attack you. There are a couple people in this video that I've made separate videos about, but this video is not meant to attack the people that are in the video. It's about the overarching themes, right? But one thing that I think is important and that you should notice is a lot of these people, their stories, they went from one extreme to another, right? That's something that happens a lot of times in weight loss. So it's going from one extreme to another, which is like super health, super diet, super all this stuff. And then it seems like a lot of them have switched to super body love, super body positive, super anti-diet, all of that stuff. It seems like there's always extremes that happen. That's something that I noticed.
In a larger body, like even when I was younger. I have a cousin who's really close in age to me who was always much smaller than me, so there was always this thought that I needed to lose weight. It was hard to go shopping with her because we would go places that didn't really carry my sizes. So a lot of insecurities around my body started at a young age.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to the size thing at stores. I feel that. Even though I know I'm a dude, they don't really have any guys in this documentary. That's why I'm that's why I'm mansplaining my opinion, because, you know, they didn't give me a chance to. But, you know, that's something that I dealt with as well.
It all started for me when I was in high school. That's when I really started to question my self-worth. And for some reason, I tied my self-worth to my body. And that's when I decided that I would go on my first diet.
My journey started when I was 16 years old, and one day I woke up and thought, you know what? I think I'm gonna lose some weight. I'm just gonna try a little bit. I'll focus on what I'm eating a bit more. I'm gonna move my body. I started by jumping on my mom's 80s style rebounder in the living room for 20 minutes a day. I vividly remember it. It's like,
dude, I had one of those when I was younger. Those things were so much fun. I don't think my mom ever tried to exercise with it. We just had like a little mini trampoline in our living room. Those things are sick.
Such a beautiful, innocent beginning.
It says behind the before and after.
Diets tend to work in the beginning. We do tend to lose weight in the beginning, and we even do tend to maybe improve health in the beginning. But that is...
I love that she says that, because a lot of people will just be like, yeah, diets, like you might lose some weight, but it's like super unhealthy and all this stuff. And it's like, well, not necessarily, right? If you are morbidly obese and you lose some weight, even if it's maybe not in the quote unquote healthiest way, which I'm not saying you should do, like your health markers will improve from doing that, right? But eventually that will slow down. Okay, sorry.
We're still not accounting for the long-term effects of that restriction in the beginning. So it looks like we can correlate dieting with improvement and weight loss and happiness, because usually we feel so excited and happy and proud of ourselves. We get all of these compliments. Life does seem to get better at the beginning of a diet.
Biologically, the end result of dieting is intentionally that your body tries to get you fatter.
So what I think is very important that we are seeing, and I want people to understand this when they watch this, because they probably are not, like I've been in this for years now, right? We've been talking about this for years. So I understand the little words that they're using and the words they're not using. So it's very important that when you listen to this, you understand that them saying dieting, the reason they say that word and not weight loss or losing fat or fat loss is because they have to say dieting, because dieting is what they are talking about. And when they say dieting, the word dieting, usually what they mean are crash dieting, fad dieting, the things that I am not a fan of either. So that's why a lot of times when I talk about health at every size or eating intuitively, I a lot of times say I agree with a lot of what they say, because a lot of what they say is true in my opinion. Now, where I disagree, which we'll get into, is how do we solve this, right? How do we solve the problem? How do we solve it is a lot different than what I think, okay? I want to make that very clear. So when you hear dieting, a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? Weight loss. And they're talking about dieting. And a lot of times, that's like extreme fad dieting or extreme dieting, like Biggest Losers type stuff, okay? I just want to make that clear.
So we know that the methods that are currently being told to us don't work and often backfire. And it's a sad place right now where science is just so rooted in mistaken assumptions. And it's caused a lot of pain for people who feel judged and wrong for having larger bodies. And we have thinner people who live in fear of getting a larger body. And a lot of people are then stuck with all of these ideas about eating and exercise that are damaging to them and much more likely to result in eating disorders than a thinner body or better health.
Our bodies evolved to respond in very knowable ways to caloric restriction. That's the only reason we're here on the planet. When our ancestors were walking the tundra thousands of years ago, we had to develop parts of our brain that would very clearly respond to inadequate food. And so as soon as there was even a day or two of inadequate food intake, our subconscious brain goes, okay, our human is in trouble. We're gonna flip on a bunch of switches throughout the body to save our poor human from starvation. And we're gonna slow the metabolism.
Sorry, I know that I'm smirking, but I feel like I'm watching like Blue's Clues or something like that, the way this is being explained. That's the reason I'm smiling, okay? I'm sorry, that's just where my brain was, okay.
Metabolism, by slowing the heart rate, cooling the hands, slowing the digestion, reducing energy, and a bunch of other things in order to preserve weight and save our human's life. However, the way that plays out is that doctors recommend diets, which as far as your cave person brain thinks, is starvation. And so doctors unwittingly encourage people to enter a state of slow metabolism, food focus, and the likelihood of gaining more and more weight each time they come out of the fast or the...
So one thing that maybe I'm wrong here, but when I hear the word, again, this is what I was saying earlier, in my opinion, a lot of times when they're talking about diet, they are not speaking on caloric deficit, being in some sort of deficit. A lot of times when people use the word diet, especially in these circles, it seems like they are talking about very specific, like very intense diets, crash diets, fad diets. Because if you're trying to lose weight, we know it's calories in, calories out for the vast majority of people. Of course, there are outliers, but for the vast majority of people, calories in, calories out, that's how things work, right? So I wanted to say that.
Starvation period, which has contributed to the way that weight is experienced on a population level in this country.
And I think what goes on in our culture is because we see so many of these before and after photos, people think that it's really, really possible.
I think it's kind of funny that the people that are so these are the people that are in the documentary, and they're like talking about how before and afters are bad, and they're like, we're gonna throw up their before and afters. I'm like, dang, dude, that's kind of savage, but whatever.
Or that I'm going to be different.
So this says, evidence suggests caloric restriction and increased physical activity are unlikely to yield clinically significant reductions in body weight. Allison Fields, Judith, a bunch of names. And then it says 2015 probability of an obese person attaining normal weight cohort study using electronic health records, American Journal of Public Health. Even though most people are unsuccessful at losing weight long term, it is still the norm to be constantly in pursuit of weight loss, seemingly at any cost. Okay, so what's important here is this word right here, or this term, in pursuit of weight loss, okay? So this is something that you'll hear a lot too when people talk about health at every size. Pursuing weight loss is not the same as losing weight, okay, or getting healthy. The reason they say pursuing weight loss, I really feel like it would be better if they said pursuing weight loss above all else. Because I personally agree that pursuing weight loss above all else is not a good way to go about trying to lose weight or getting healthy. Again, I want to say there is a very big difference between pursuing weight loss and pursuing weight loss above all else. Because when we start doing it above all else, we are not taking into account how we're feeling, if we're eating enough calories, if we are going to the gym way too much, spending 3, 4, 5 hours in the gym every day because we are pursuing weight loss above all else. There's a very big difference. And I feel like if that was more, talked about in the Haze movement, I feel like it would make a lot more sense to a lot of people, in my opinion.
The Biggest Loser just wrapped up its 16th season, if you can believe it. The show drew in an average weekly viewership of 7 million people, but with its success comes controversy. Last year, the show's winner, Rachel Fredrickson, lost nearly...
I remember this was crazy. Do you guys remember this? When she was the winner and it was like, yo, calm down now. Hey now, what's going on here? Like, I've documented my distaste for The Biggest Loser. So I am not a Biggest Loser fan. I have had winners. I have had a winner of The Biggest Loser and many contestants of The Biggest Loser on my channel and talked about how I'm not a fan of it and all of this stuff, right? So I'm not sitting here trying to defend The Biggest Loser by any means, okay? So I'm not gonna, that's definitely not a hill that I'm going to die on at all.
60% of her body weight on the program, winning the title at only 105 pounds. Her dramatic transformation prompted the Twitter hashtag Stop.
Also, savage that they had them wear their weight on their shirts at the start. You couldn't, couldn't be me. You're not, no sir. You're not going to get me wearing my weight on my shirt. Ain't happening, boss. Nope.
Biggest Loser and calls for the show's cancellation. Now, more recently, a former contestant has made some troublesome claims about the series. Kai Hibbard opened up about her time on the show.
So I had these messages that they were saving my life. They were saving my life every single day, which if I had had time to think and I had had time to sleep and I had time to eat, I probably would have been able to process the fact that bleeding through my shoes, having my hair fall out, having bruises literally under my eyes and all over my body probably isn't healthier than when I got there. So how could this be about my health and not about my appearance? But I like to...
It's not. It's about that. It's about it's showbiz, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's about the cheddar. That's what it's about. Come on, let's be real. Especially back then. especially back then. They rebooted it for a season. It seemed like we were able to speak to some of the contestants, and it was like a little bit better, but especially back then, man, it was straight up, how much money can we make off of this?
I think I'm a fairly articulate individual with a decent vocabulary, and I look out of my mind at that finale. I'm not coherent. I'm running back and forth across the stage. I am sticking my tongue out. I'm doing weird things with my hands. I hadn't eaten in days, and I was dehydrated. And so clearly, like, I wasn't processing with all of my faculties, but boy, you know, it didn't matter if I could come up with a coherent sentence or even spell my own name. I looked great.
And the thing that's really sad about that is that at that time, especially when The Biggest Loser was really, really popular, it became almost like, I remember, at least for me, because I was bigger at this point, I thought that that was like expected. Like, losing weight in that way and at like that speed was normal, and it's what I should be going for, right? When in reality, it's very unrealistic, very unhealthy, and just, there's no, especially by yourself, it ain't gonna happen, right?
Like, you know, you step on that scale and you're like, oh, okay, wow, I've lost a lot of weight. Nothing changes. I think I thought glitter would fall from the sky or something, and suddenly I'd be like, oh, it's fine. Like, everything's great now. All the sadness I was feeling when I was that weight should be gone now.
I was a collegiate athlete, played soccer through college, and even then I was still stuck in these unhealthy behaviors, and my body would be yo-yoing. It depended on where I was in the cycle. If I was just binging, then I was gaining weight. If I was restricting, maybe I would lose it. But it was just a constant up and down process. But my mind never, ever found peace.
Mick Zazon is a health and fitness coach from Columbus, Ohio, but not too long ago, she says she suffered from 3 separate eating disorders.
She says her issues began when her decision to shed a few pounds became an obsession.
When I was struggling with binge eating disorder.
So someone in the chat said, where are the fat people in this documentary? That comes up. There are bigger people in the documentary, but that is one of the criticisms I think that I've levied against, you know, health at every size a lot of times. Is a lot of times the people that seem to be pushing it the most are not, like, their health isn't really in question, right? And so that is one of my criticisms. But there are bigger people in this documentary, so it's not all like skinny white people or anything like that.
It almost felt like an entire separate being was taking over my body, and I could not control it. It was like this thing that was moving my hands and moving my legs to go to the refrigerator or go to the pantry in my roommate's food and grab things and feel so shameful about it and lie about it to my roommates, because how was I supposed to explain that? How was I supposed to explain that I crumbled up cookies so that I wouldn't eat them and I would throw them away in the trash can, but an hour later I found the biggest chunk in the trash can and I dug it out and I ate it.
While I was in diet culture and looking what some would seem acceptable, I was also in active addiction. So I was smoking, I was drinking, I was doing other things. So we really get mixed up in what health looks like. Like, really, I was the most unhealthy I've ever been, but to people, I had a lighter body. Therefore, I was, you know, hey, you look great. And so my exercise sometimes looked like me smoking on the way to the track, butting out my cigarette, doing a few laps, like a, you know, super intense exercise, and then getting back in the car and going to work. So it was like, this is not a healthy practice. This is not a healthy relationship with exercise. But as long as I look acceptable, then everyone seems fine with it, and I feel accepted.
So when I hear stuff like that, this is when, like, they talk about not commenting on someone's weight. And I remember at first I used to be like, that's silly. But for me, I guess it makes sense. Like if you don't know anything about someone's journey or what they're going through, or they're not posting their weight and being like, hey, I've lost weight, I'm really happy about this, right? Because if someone's doing that, I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, oh, congratulations, like that's dope. Like I think that's awesome, right? Because obviously you're posting it for that stuff. But if you have no idea and you're just like commenting on it, maybe not the best idea. Do I think it's like evil and you're a terrible person for doing that? No, because again, in society we've kind of been, it's very normal now.
Somewhere along the way, I had started tracking macros religiously. And so my body looked really strong and healthy. And I was strong and healthy, actually. But I had this obsessive relationship with everything that I was eating. Like, if I ate anything that wasn't accounted for, it would really send me into a not good place. And so, what ended up happening is I just I wasn't enjoying life anymore, right? Like going to restaurants stressed me out, hanging out with friends where I couldn't 100% control everything that I was eating stressed me out. And I was saying that I was doing this in the name of health, right? But I was the leanest I had been in my adult body. I was the strongest I'd ever been in my adult body. And somehow it still wasn't enough for me.
Again, I'm not disagreeing. I've been there with her, and again, I'm going to share my thoughts towards the end of the documentary, but I just want to make it clear, a lot of the stuff that we're hearing is the extremes, right? Not everyone falls into these categories. It seems like a lot of the people that go from the extreme of health and the extreme of tracking, the extreme of doing these things, also the pendulum swings and then they become on the extreme of no longer tracking. You shouldn't track. Tracking is evil. You shouldn't do any of these things. It's going to cause all of these issues, right? I don't think that's everybody. I think that there are some people that can help, but not everybody is going to have all of these huge issues with tracking. Some people certainly will, but not everybody will, right? That's something that I think is important to bring up.
When I was 20 years old, I went to South Africa. I was modeling overseas, living in a house with 9 other models. It felt like a movie at the time. The life that our society tells us is going to make you the happiest. That's what I had. And I was miserable. All I thought about was food. I binged while I was there. I would go by myself into town and just go to a restaurant by myself. I'd eat a whole pizza and then I'd go get ice cream by myself. And then I'd eat all this food and then I'd go back to the model house like nothing happened.
People think that oh, you just go to the gym.
I mean, that sounds like kind of like fun, but whatever. Just keep moving on.
1 hour. And that requires commitment too. But people think it's just that. They don't understand that outside of that 1 hour at the gym, which that's not what I was doing. I was doing many, many hours, all my free time at the gym. Aside from that, not only are you making your food and making sure that you're eating your diet meals, you're also spending every moment of every day thinking about it. And
again, I know that it sounds like I'm saying the same stuff over again, but I just think it's important, right? She was doing a bunch of fitness competitions. Again, most people, I personally don't recommend most people do them because they are too intense. They do require too much. I just think that they are unhealthy for a lot of people. I would not recommend them. But again, this is what we are seeing, right? This is becoming very common, I would say.
And then I found myself on the floor next to my refrigerator, spooning ice cream and peanut butter. And it was even to a point where I started binge eating so badly that I couldn't afford my binge eating disorder anymore. So I would steal food from grocery stores just so I could binge on it. So it was a time of my life that was filled with a lot of shame.
I lost about 100 pounds within a span of about 1.5 years. So I became a bit of an internet sensation for the fact that I lost weight while being a mom at home without any proper programs or anything. Reality being that after all of that weight loss, losing 100 pounds, I still had that same shame and anxiety around my body, if not more than I ever had before.
So that stuff, like exactly, this is why I've harped on it many, many times, and I'll continue to do it. As far as losing weight and getting a following for that, it is not all rainbows and butterflies, and it doesn't solve everything, right? It can actually make it a lot worse and make it a lot harder because you have so many people that now they see you as an inspiration, but they almost expect things from you, and it can make it really, really difficult. Like, it really can.
So I started posting before and after photos all the time. So a lot of people coming to me like, wow, you look amazing. Your body's changed so much. And I think that was the hardest part of me in terms of starting my recovery, was because I was getting so much tension in terms of that before and after photo.
I was losing all this weight, doing the Whole30 and bringing my salad to lunch. And it was just all this positive, like what I perceived as positive, like, oh my gosh, girl, you look so tiny. Where did that waist come? All these little like compliments that you think are compliments. And they're like, you look great. You look amazing. Like, how much weight have you lost? And it was, you just feed off of it, and you're like, I can't go back. Like, I have to keep going. Like, I need to keep hearing these things.
So a lot of this stuff, this is why I am such an advocate for, trying to learn about like why you're losing weight, right? Learn about TDEE, your total daily energy expenditure. Learn about, trying to get to a point where you learn how to track, right? You get that skill, but eventually you don't want to be tracking for the rest of your life, and you're doing like the common sense diet or mindful eating, which is what I like to call it. Like, that's why that stuff is so important to me, because you can't do that for the rest of your life. Like, you're not going to want to track every single morsel of food for the rest of your life. Like, that is not the way that I want to live my life, at least. This is why I harp on this so much, and this is why people get really frustrated with me when I call out people that are like promoting these really quick fix weight loss things. And it's like, oh, they're just trying to help. They're just trying to help the person lose weight. Like, why are you getting so mad at them just because it's not the way that you would do it? It's because the reason that I get so upset about it is I have seen where that road ends, and it's not good. Like, it doesn't end. It just is a big U-turn, and then you start walking back to the start. Because you start gaining the weight back, and then you have the shame, and then you feel upset, and then you feel like you can't lose the weight, and then it becomes this cycle. That's why I talk about this stuff so much, and I get so passionate about it, because I don't want you to go down that road, Okay, sorry. So it says here, after her time on The Biggest Loser, Kai was diagnosed with lupus, which is no joke, and that really is not. That sucks. Lupus is a systemic autoimmune disease that occurs when your body's immune system attacks your own tissues and organs.
Right now, whatever size body I'm in, it's not important other than how the world treats me for it. But this size body is due to my illness. When you tell me that I look good because of my size, you're complimenting my illness.
So it says thin privilege, dignity, respect, and equitable treatment shouldn't be privileges reserved for smaller bodied people.
The only thing that can explain the pervasive nature of both medical provider and individual and population misbelief that thinner is better, or that thinner is attainable through dieting in the long term, is that there is a profound privilege given in our society to thin bodies. Thin privilege is so powerful in our society that physicians are mistaught, and they then bear powerful internalized self-stigma and other stigma regarding body size. And they continue to promote recommendations that do not work, oftentimes from a place of the provider themselves occupying thin privilege.
Okay, so this This woman, I feel like she tries to explain things, but it just gets more convoluted. Basically, what they're talking about here is a lot of us that have gone to the doctors when we're bigger, we go there, and instead of trying to figure out what's wrong with us or anything, the first thing they do, or the only thing they do, is say, hey, you need to lose weight. Here's a diet plan. There you go. When one, they shouldn't be telling you how to lose weight because they are not trained, unless they're like a dietitian or something, right? If they're just a regular GP, they are not trained to help you lose weight. A lot of times they don't know what they're talking about, and they fall for the same crap, the same fad diets that a lot of us fall for, right? So this is like, again, this has been something that I have always very much so agreed when it comes to health every size, is getting better treatment for people that are in bigger bodies at the doctor's office, right? Am I saying that there is no way that any of the issues that you have can be tied to your weight loss, to your weight? No, absolutely not. There are plenty of issues that can be tied to your weight, and I think we should definitely take those very seriously. But there are also other issues that might not have anything to do with your weight that we shouldn't just brush off because it's like, no, you should just lose the weight because once you lose the weight, then you'll be able to figure stuff out. That's not good care, right? And so I agree that 100%, like, we need to take, like, how bigger people are treated in doctor's office and the hospital and stuff, that needs to change. And I think trying to change that is a good thing.
They think, well, it's easy for me to just get up and eat some food and eat when I'm hungry and be satisfied and go about my life, and I'm thin. All of these other people are just not doing it right. And if they were to do it right, they'd get thin. And what I can tell you, as an eating disorder internist, is that that's bullshit.
The reason why the idea of loving your body just as it is so shocking is because we have heard hundreds, thousands, millions of messages to tell us the exact opposite, to tell us that having a smaller body means that you're healthy, you're happy, you're vibrant, you're worthy, you're sexy, you're more lovable, you're all of these incredible things. And then for someone to say, have you considered not trying to become thin? It's just like, what? No, of course not.
What if pursuing weight loss isn't the answer? ?
When you look at the body of research that exists showing that dieting doesn't work and causes harm, the great majority of studies that look at weight loss, they're not conducted for a long enough period of time. It needs to be minimally 2 years. 5 years is better. And most don't measure for unintended consequences like binge eating, like eating disorder behaviors, and looking at the consequence of actually having more weight. In fact, there was a study done on twins. They looked at 2,000 pairs of twins, in other words, 4,000 people. And the researchers thought, well, maybe the reason we see dieting associated with weight gain is that it's a genetic predisposition. And they followed these twins around for 5 years, and what they found out is that dieting independent of genetics predicted weight gain in a dose-response manner, meaning the more that a twin dieted, the more likely the weight got higher. So the problem is that people have this belief that it works when actually it doesn't.
The question isn't, do diets work for weight loss? It's for how long and at what cost. I think that's a good way to look at it, because again, I am not a fan of crash diets, or like, that's basically what they're saying here. Fad diets, crash diets, intense dieting, like the goal to lose weight as fast as possible. I want to make that clear. That is what they were talking about. And again, stick around because I'm going to be going over my feelings more in depth at the end, okay? I'm trying not to interrupt this too much. I'm going to go over my feelings at the end. I will go over everything, I promise, to the best of my ability.
I did have a following at the time. I had about 70,000 followers, and I would meet somebody in the mall and they'd be like, oh, I'm like, sorry you're catching me right now. It's like, I just want to say, like, I've been working really hard. It's just been difficult. So I still have this weight. They were apologizing to me for their bodies. That's how they approached me, was I'm apologizing to you for how I look. And I was like, that's so bizarre. I would never ask that of you, but this was what I was instilling, is that this was almost a moral value on life, was to seek weight loss.
It's interesting that she brings that up, because for me, I've had the exact opposite. And she said she had 30,000 followers at this time. You know, I've had, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers for quite some time now. You know, no flex or anything, but, you know, you should follow me on Instagram. And I would say that when I did used to go to these expos and stuff, I've always been incredibly blessed with how just awesome and kind and sweet and supportive and excited and just like full of life the people that I've met have been. Like the people that I've met at expos and stuff, like have always, like, I've always felt really lucky, because I'll be with people that are like fitness influencers and like, oh yeah, you know, you helped me lose, or you like, you're so jacked or whatever. But I've had, you know, tons of, most of the time it's women, because I have a dramatically large woman following. Shout out to all the ladies watching. But they'll come up to me and they'll say, like, you know, I appreciate you so much. You helped me, you know, find this thing, or you've really helped me find this thing in my life, whatever it might be. Like, sometimes they'll be crying and stuff like that. And it's always been such a cool experience for me. So it's interesting hearing the opposite side of that, because I never had that, you know, that feeling.
Putting out that content felt authentic until I realized that my binge eating and body image was so bad. It just kept creeping up on me.
But one thing I like people to ask themselves is, what has your own experience shown you? With each and every diet or food plan, or by whatever name you want to call it, because diet culture is sneaky, what has been the experience of your body? What really happened? And not just of your body, but of your mind, your relationships, your socialization. And that's where some of your answer is, you know? And if the answer is, oh my gosh, I have more anxiety around eating, I have more anxiety around my body, I've got more rules, I'm constantly preoccupied with all of these issues, that's what the research also shows. But people don't brag about that on Instagram and social media.
Wellness without the obsession.
When I was learning to love my body, I was very hesitant to go full in, because I was like, because I was so fat phobic, I believed that loving my fat body meant that I would eat 27 hours a day. I would never leave my couch. I would never go to the doctor again.
We've been taught that we can't trust ourselves. We've been taught that eating a lot of food is the worst thing we can do. We've been taught that we have to micromanage everything we eat. And to even consider that we can trust our body sounds like some like woo-woo, dangerous, like spiritual psychobabble or something. It's just so foreign to us that we fear it, essentially.
So here, where I have an issue, I do want to bring up like an issue that I do have is this is what you hear a lot when it comes to health at every size, or a lot of people that are very into intuitive eating, is that it's like, you should just eat whatever your body wants you to eat and stuff. And it's like, man, if you're talking to someone that their weight is becoming a significant problem in their life, just telling them, just eat. I'm sorry, that's terrible advice. That's terrible advice. Like, that is not helping the person. Not just terrible advice to where it's like, that's not going to help them lose weight. In my opinion, I don't think it will. But that's not helping them, right? Like, so for me, what I've always said is learning how to track, learning what calories are, getting that base of knowledge. Because a lot of times, you know, people like the woman that's being shown right here, and a lot of the other people that are huge proponents of intuitive eating have, at some point, they tracked for a long period of time, or they went to school for nutrition, or they did all of this stuff that has given them a very, very, very large base knowledge of nutrition that now they cannot track anymore. Now they can eat however they want and just listen to their body, because they have this base knowledge of nutrition that, I'm sorry, most people do not have. Right? Most people, especially if you are someone that is struggling with your weight, like I was when I was at my heaviest, I knew nothing about nutrition. And it's so frustrating when I hear this, just eat whatever you want. I'm sorry, that's not good advice. Like, I fundamentally disagree with that. I fundamentally disagree with it, personally.
Actually, we don't believe that it's possible. But
it's not. In my opinion, it's possible, but there are steps that you have to take to get there. and just saying you can't just go from 0 to 100, in my opinion. Like, you need to take some steps and take some things, learn about certain things so you can eventually get there. And it's like people that are on this like mountaintop just being like, hey, come up here. Come on. It's great. It's great up here. Come on. And it's like, yeah, I need help. Can I get a ladder? No, dude. Figure it out. Come on. Get up. Come on, dude. It's great. Hello. Come up here. Let me get a ladder, dude. Let me get some steps. I don't know how to get up there. Well, sucks for you, bro. Like, that's what it feels like when I hear this stuff. It's so frustrating to me. I'm sorry.
Also, nuts that we have gotten to a place where we don't trust our bodies, where we believe that this innate thing, appetite, has to be so tightly controlled. That is actually the thing that doesn't make any sense.
So the differences that I have seen, not only in my personal experience with fitness, but also after training thousands of women, is that if they are tethering their experience to a weight loss goal, it often means that they're viewing the fitness as either working or not working. And they're basing that judgment on what the scale is saying. So
this is a good point. I actually really like this point. This is why I've always said weight loss happens in the kitchen, fitness happens in the gym. They can be complementary to each other, but you should not be going to the gym thinking, if I work out harder, I will lose more weight. It would make much more sense to focus on the nutrition, what you're eating, if that is your goal, is to lose weight. Should not be, I'm going to go kill it in the gym, and that's how I'm going to lose weight. Like, this is a good point, in my opinion.
So there are many, many reasons why you won't see a difference in the scale. So that is when people start to declare that this isn't working. So they dump all the benefits that fitness can bring to their lives because it's not working. And I've heard that from so many people. It's not working. And I said, well, what's your definition of working?
What I have found with many clients, including myself, is I always said I want to change my body for health. And it wasn't until a therapist challenged me on, well, what does health mean for you? What does health look like? I didn't realize that in my mind, health meant being in a smaller body.
Okay, so with this, I struggle with this one because I feel like health, like, it can have there can be personal stuff tied to it, of course, but I do think in some overarching, like, I think it's okay to be like, health means for most people XYZ thing, right? And if we're talking about weight, right, I think to be healthy, your weight shouldn't be causing you, issues that if you lost the weight, it would no longer be there, right? Whether that's mobility issues, whether that's pain in your joints, whether that's, things like that, or if it's diabetes, heart related, all of those things. I think if your weight is causing those issues, getting rid of those issues would be a healthy thing to do, right? So I don't know. I don't think it's this part. I'm a little I don't know about this one.
And it wasn't until I unpacked that I realized that's not actually what health is at all. That you can be in a large body and be healthy. You can be in a small body and be unhealthy. And when you really get to the root of it, why would I make that connection, right? Why would I make the connection that being in a smaller body means that I'm healthier? And that's because society celebrates smaller bodies, whether or not those bodies are healthy. And this was the one area in my life that I feel like I failed. I could not get my body to be smaller. And I remember that grieving me. I remember thinking I would never be an after photo, that people would see my body as always a before photo, that people would assume my health habits just by looking at me.
We don't have control.
So I obviously have a lot to say, but like I said, I'm not trying to get into the personal stuff in this video. I disagree with a lot of what was just said there. But we're going to move on, okay? Because I have stuff to say at the end. This video is already long enough. we're just going to move on, okay? I'm going to choose to skip, okay? I'm sorry. I hope no one's mad at me, but I can't.
Over all of the things that affect our health. But if we can take control of the pieces that will help our health, it's feeding your body adequately, giving yourself enough food, resting enough, having...
Okay, feeding your body adequately, yes, I agree, but I would say not overfeeding your body as well, right? Like, why is that never brought up in this, when we talk about this? Like, feed your body adequately. Yeah, I don't think it's, I don't think eating a whole cake or eating a whole pizza is also adequate. I think that's overfeeding yourself, and I would say that that's causing harm to your body as well. You know, like...
ways of soothing and stress management and fun and connection and moving your body in a way that you'll actually continue to move your body. All of these things will actually have a greater impact on our health than focusing on weight, which tends to backfire in a million ways anyway.
When I started my recovery, I realized that I was actually much healthier in a larger body, and I was recovered, and my body was, healing, and my skin was clearing up, and my hair was growing back in, and all of these things, like my metabolism was trying to get back to a good place, a healthy place. And
I'm sorry, the metabolism thing, I'm sorry, but no, that's not. Okay, I just want to say this. Again, I'm not trying to talk about the specific people, but this is frustrating when I hear this, okay? Your metabolism slows down when you lose weight. That is not a bad thing. That is, your body is now smaller, so therefore, it does not require as many calories to maintain its size. So yes, your metabolism slows down when you lose weight, barring any other outside issues, right? If we're not talking about like if you have PCOS or endometriosis, all of those things, okay? I'm just saying as far as most people, okay? Disclaimer. When you lose weight, your metabolism slows down. That's not because you are doing something bad or doing something wrong. It could be, right? You might be losing weight really, really rapidly. But no matter how healthy of a way that you are losing weight, your metabolism will slow down. The amount of calories your body needs will be less because your body is now smaller. I just want to make that clear. It's very frustrating when I hear that because I personally disagree.
So when I started to gain weight, I had, it was difficult, but there was also this side of me that's like, this is my body healing, and this is what my body needs. And I'm actually healthier in a larger body. I'm actually healthier in that quote unquote before photo than I am in the after photo.
We're so focused on arriving at this destination, which is healthy, and that doesn't exist. It's not black and white. It is not binary. You're not either healthy or unhealthy. It's a spectrum.
If I wasn't worried.
I mean, yeah, but I think that also if your weight is causing a lot of issues, fixing that thing, I think, is a good thing, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, okay? That's something that's very important to me to say.
About the scale, what is going to keep me engaged in moving my body, what is going to keep me engaged in eating well. And I think, the reality is that as a person who's no longer focused on fat loss and weight loss, I still move my body on the regular. I still eat foods that feel good for me because I feel better when I do that.
Weirdly enough, almost everything you've ever been taught about the relationship between body size and health is wrong.
What a bomb to drop and then just leave it. Okay. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already are.
Now I have my two daughters, and I am so happy and relieved to be in this world of intuitive eating, because now it's something that I can pass on to them. And I know I can't protect them from everything, and they're definitely going to be exposed to diet culture, and I can only do so much. But it's something that they're going to see me practicing. They're going to see me practicing intuitive eating and speaking about food in a way that is neutral. I can be a model for them for how you can have a healthy relationship with food in your body.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I don't have an issue with that at all. I think that's definitely good, especially now. Like, I do think there's a lot of terrible information about weight loss and about how you should eat out there, especially for kids. I'm not a fan of being like, these kids need to go on diets. No, I think that's very, very, very bad.
Stopped obsessing about weight and about how my body looked. It's honestly been the most liberating and freeing thing that I've ever done in my life. I wrote about this a while back, and the fact that like I took this amazing trip to Spain last year, and like halfway through the trip, I recognized I hadn't thought about food. I hadn't thought about what I was eating. I was just present and enjoying the moment and creating memories with people. And I look back to a few years back when I was so obsessed on my weight, like I couldn't enjoy those moments, right? I was worried about what I looked like. I was worried about was I going to gain weight from the things I eat. I was never present.
I think I'm going to get emotional when I talk about this. I'm
sorry, when people say that, I'm going to get emotional when I speak about this. All right, are you ready? I'm sorry. It's just maybe I'm a terrible person, but I can't when people do that.
I entered recovery. It was so scary. However, it was the most in love with my body I have ever felt in my entire life. It was experiencing a type of love that I had never experienced or thought I would ever experience, but I was trying to get there through dieting. And I will always remember looking at myself in the mirror and genuinely just loving every inch of myself, because I was allowed to travel. I was eating things that I loved again. I wasn't bringing prepared food to restaurants. I wasn't freaking out going to restaurants, and I was actually laughing with my friends and my family and relearning how to be in those kinds of relationships again. And it was like the best thing I have ever experienced in my life.
There's nothing wrong.
I'm disappointed. I was not emotional enough for me personally, but whatever, it's fine. We'll move on.
With you, there's just something set up in the way that we push down some people and uplift other people, and usually it's based on superficial reasons like how you look and how much money you have. And so do we really want to live in that kind of world is the question.
And so when I created this shift, now people come up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I went to the beach this weekend, had the best time, totally was inspired by you. Thank you so much. And I'm like, that was all you, hon. Like, hope you made some amazing memories. Like, thanks so much for sharing that with me.
In 2019, I started gaining weight just because, life. Now, we fast forward even now, and like with quarantine and COVID, I'm probably the same weight that my before picture. And I've never been happier. You don't hate yourself. Society teaches you that, and these weird standards teach you that, and sometimes even the people you love teach you that, which kind of sucks.
I wanted freedom, but I also wanted acceptance. And in my mind, those two things couldn't exist. They were mutually exclusive. That if I wanted to experience freedom in my body, I was going to have to sacrifice things. And what I realized is the thing I needed to sacrifice was people's acceptance.
Before I accepted my body, I always had this cloud over my head, this cloud of shame that I wasn't thin and I was therefore defective in some way. If I can just get thin, the cloud will go away. Well, even when I did lose weight and become straight size, the cloud was still there. And when I discovered that it was okay to be fat and worked on all of those fat phobic beliefs that I had, that cloud slowly lifted. And so from there, I have done incredible things, like I have a TEDx talk, I started my own business, I wrote a book, I have made videos of me dancing around in my bikini. They're like kind of the flashier things, but the day-to-day reality of my life is that I just don't have to spend any mental energy thinking that my body isn't okay. I just live.
So I know I wasn't saying much towards the end because it was just basically them sharing their opinions and their thoughts and what they've been through. So I'm not going to be like, no, you're definitely lying here and this is not true. And, you know, if that's your experience, that's your experience. I'm not here to say that you're lying. You know, that's definitely not what I'm trying to do here. So that's why I was just kind of like letting them share their stuff.
We all think that weight loss will solve things, and sometimes we think it'll solve everything. Not only is it clear that it doesn't, but it's not even a possibility for most people.
The point of us sharing these stories is to show people that there's another way, a more enjoyable, sustainable, and ultimately healthier life. Diet culture stole so much from so many of us for so long, and it's time for that to stop.
If there's one thing we want you to walk away with, it is this. Pursuing weight loss isn't the answer to health, to happiness, or to feeling like you're enough.
Pursuing weight loss isn't the answer, okay? That's what they said. Pursuing weight loss isn't the answer.
Because the truth is, you are enough, and you always have been.
All right, so that's pretty much it. So some of my qualms, right? One of the biggest issues I have is the words that they use, right? Pursuing weight loss. When we talk about that, again, like I said earlier, pursuing weight loss above all else. I do think that that is a problem, all right? In my opinion, pursuing weight loss above all else, putting you losing weight above everything else, I think that that can end in some very unhealthy habits. But losing weight, I don't think necessarily in and of itself is one, impossible, or two, a bad thing. This is why I am such a big proponent of all of the things that I've talked about so many times. Sustainability, diets, or finding a way to eat that is enjoyable to you, but it might take time, right? Through training, through learning how to track, understanding macros, understanding calories, getting that base knowledge. If you are someone that has none of that stuff, right? That stuff is super important. Now, I actually made a post, and I want to share this. I made a post on Instagram. This is before I ever saw this documentary, so this is something that's on my mind frequently, okay? I want to make that clear. This is something I think about a lot, and something that I personally have been through, okay? So here's the post right here. I put a before and after, so this was before at my highest weight, around 400 pounds, 360 or more, and then this is where I'm at right now with pink hair. And then I also put in when I was at my leanest, which was 180 pounds, and then where I'm at now, which is like 215. Now, this is something I think about a lot, and so I want to read this off to y'all. So many people look at the first photo and are more impressed, and they wouldn't be wrong. I am very happy with what I've been able to do with my body. Personally, I am more proud of the second picture. When we lose weight, it's so easy to get caught up in how small you can get, how much weight you can lose. Sadly, the amount of weight you lose ends up being more important than being healthy. This is incredibly important to me, okay? I'm going to read that again. Sadly, the amount of weight you lose ends up being more important than being healthy. Important. In the second picture, I was about 180 pounds right after my physique show, and I knew that weight was not sustainable. Now, for me, the reason that I knew that was because when I had the knowledge. Now, this is really important to me. I had the knowledge and I understood the things that I was doing, the type of foods that I was eating, the amount of cardio that I was doing wasn't sustainable, and there was no way that I could continue being this size. So I had that knowledge in my head already that this is not going to work for the long term. So when I ended up gaining I've gained what, 35 pounds, if not more, from that photo. I was not upset. I didn't think of it as a moral failure. I didn't think of it as anything other than this makes sense because what I was doing was not healthy or sustainable, right? This is important. This is incredibly important. When we put losing weight as fast as possible over health, that is a problem. And that is something I will scream from the rooftops. But when we start saying losing weight is impossible, losing weight is dangerous, losing weight will cause harm, and scaring people to actually give it a shot, that's where I have an issue. Okay, that is where my qualm is. That is why I get upset and I get louder than people like me to get in my videos. Okay, I'm sorry, I get passionate. And then I go on to say, remember, just because you have some arbitrary goal weight doesn't mean you have to hit it or stay there. Your health is so much more important than the number on the scale. Now I sit at 215 pounds, so 35 whole pounds heavier than I was at my low weight. I would be miserable trying to maintain a body weight so low. Just food for thought. All right? So these are things that I think about. So I'm not just watching this video and trying to find a reason to be upset. This is stuff that I think about often. The biggest issue I have with, this documentary, but just in general, the overarching theme of it is that it makes trying to lose weight almost a negative. It makes trying to take care of yourself almost seen as bad. And like you are a bad person and you are falling victim to some huge thing that is trying to take over your life and turn you into some evil thing, and you're going to fail and you're going to gain more weight and you're going to hate yourself and everything's going to be bad. That is not the truth for everyone. Is that the truth for a lot of the people in this video? Sure. I'm not sitting here saying I know their experience, but they should not, and I would hope that they're not, they should not also sit there and say, we know everyone's experience, and this way is the best way, which I do not like how that documentary ended, because it really, really made it seem like this way is the best way, and if you do it any other way, you are going to fail and hate yourself. I'm sorry, I disagree. I think the way that I have done things has worked for me, but I would never, ever, ever, ever say that what I do and what I have been able to do is for everyone. That is ignorant and that is just straight up wrong. So that is my biggest issue that I have with the documentary. I think there are a lot of points I think I showed that I agreed with, so I'm not sitting here just trying to be mad about nothing, but there are little things that I disagree with that are important to me, and so I think being able to disagree with those things while still being able to agree with, I would say I agreed with more of it than I disagreed, is okay. So those are my thoughts, and that's how I feel.